Hi, and welcome to In Good Company, where each week we talk to good people doing great things and celebrate the beauty of connection by word of mouth. I'm your host, Davinia Roberts, and today I'm sitting down with Somi Jun, writer, educator, and co-founder of March April Studio, a worker-owned art studio in downtown LA. They were passed the mic by MiaBella Chavez, one of March April's earliest workshop students turned studio resident. Today, we talk about building something collectively from the back of a napkin to a physical space, the shift from poetry to nonfiction, their current work in progress, a book of essays on utopian projects, and the model March April leaves behind. At the end of each episode, our guests will pass the mic to someone in their circle, welcoming you into this growing web of friends of friends. Thanks for joining. And if you're here, you're in good company. Okay, thanks for being here. I'm here with Somi Jun, a writer and an educator. And Somi Jun was passed the mic from MiaBella. How you know MiaBella?
Yeah, we met through the studio. So she took some of our earliest workshops and has become a friend and became one of our first studio residents.
I love it. So the studio that we're talking about is March April. This is run by Somi Jun, and there are two other folks that. Okay.
Yeah, so we co-run it between the three of us. It's me, Bhavani Srinivas, and Maj Pashandal.
Nice.
And yeah, we've been running it as a worker co-op for the past year and a half.
For people that aren't familiar with what a worker co-op, because sometimes I think when you're around it, but if people aren't aware of it, can you kind of give a little bit of a tease out of what that is?
Yeah, and it's a good question because when I was looking into it, it was quite hard to parse. But basically, it's when the people who work at a business also own the business. That can look like a lot of different things, but I think the main tenets of anywhere that calls themselves a worker co-op is that it's collectively owned and governed. So the big decisions are made collectively. But it can look like a lot of different.
We'll talk a lot about March, April in general. MiaBella spoke a lot about it too and what the space did
Very
for her.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk about your teaching and your career in education. And so I know that in the pre-interview questionnaire, there was a question that asked, when did you know that this would be the career for you?
Early in my career, but I knew my first or second year of college that I would most likely end up in a classroom. Was part of a program that traveled to high schools and did mentorship with high school juniors and seniors. And so we spent a lot of time with the students and with the other teachers and with administrators, and being on that side of the classroom felt very right. But I was like, let me play the field and try out a bunch of different things. But after playing the field, I do think that initial gut instinct was correct. I say I'm early into my career because I'm in my first lead teacher role. So I'm wrapping up my first semester as a teacher at a private school. And then over the next year or so, I'll be finishing up my teaching credential and then going into teaching full time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You will never have another
Thank
first
you.
year of teaching. That's like such a big shift and a big hurdle.
Yes.
So what was it when you were teaching or mentoring the high school students that kind of clicked, maybe this could be it for me?
Yeah, I think there was something about the energy. There was something about being in a job where you're by necessity sort of laughing a lot because kids will say the darndest things.
Right.
And I think being in an environment that's explicitly about learning, so learning content material. So for me, that's largely in the humanities, English and social studies, but also learning social emotional skills, coping mechanisms, executive functioning things. It made me feel energized. Like when people talk about the difference between introvert and extrovert, I always say I'm an introvert, but that was like the first scenario where I sort of could relate to the way extroverts feel of like I feel energized by
Yes.
being here, even though there are aspects of it that are objectively quite hard or
Right.
stressful.
Absolutely.
But I leave work on the whole. It gives me energy instead of taking it from me. But there are things that are hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think anything dealing with other humans there's going to be a lot of things that you can pull from it that are energetically uplifting, but
Yes.
maybe some complex things that are challenging with it.
Some chaos.
I think that's very telling also if you self-identify as an introvert and you're getting energy from engaging with people, educating people, helping them learn, like that really does highlight that it's something that is right for you.
Yeah. And I've landed back there after, like 10 years.
Yeah. Do you have a moment in your education that you remember like the way someone instructed you or taught you that was really illuminating or that you've held on to or gone back to?
Yeah, they ask us this question a lot
Oh,
at the
interesting.
beginning of every education course.
Mhm.
And then I have to fess up and I have to be like, I was not really the most respectful or obedient or attentive student.
Really?
Not at all.
Oh my gosh. That is like
I
not
wouldn't
what
say
I'm
I
getting
was.
from you.
And I flew under the radar, so I got away with a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say I was the most respectful.
But now in the
attentive
classroom,
student.
you can like maybe see yourself in the classroom
Very
too.
much
That's so
so.
funny.
Yes.
Funny.
Yeah. So that's what was so fascinating about going back to the classroom setting
Mhm.
in the role of facilitator or educator.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, now I'm awake.
Yeah.
Now I'm paying attention. My sort of reputation through high school and college was like the napper. Like I was always sleeping.
You were tired, you needed rest.
Thank you for saying. Yeah.
It's like you gotta get the rest when you can get the rest.
I'm sure that there were many amazing teachers and I just
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't awake.
Maybe it's the teachers that let you nap. Because
Honestly,
there's
yes.
also that's something.
I think that was a big thing.
I remember teachers like making people wake up. I'm like, they're sleeping. They clearly need to sleep. Let them sleep. They're not disrupting anyone. Staying in the realm of education, you're still early career, but what is something that you believed in the beginning when you started that you don't believe now when it comes to your teaching?
I pivoted. So I thought I would be teaching English because that's what I studied and that's what I do.
Mhm.
Um, I'm pivoting to doing special education because
Beautiful.
it's where the parts of my teaching credential classes that I like the most have to do with accommodations and meeting students where they're at and being adaptive. And so a lot of the things I like the most in my program came out of special education contexts, but I think that they're applicable to all contexts.
Sure.
I don't know that I disbelieved that going in, but it wasn't on my radar. And now that's something that I feel quite strongly. And, like every situation is different. So I wouldn't paint with a broad stroke and say every classroom has to be run like a special education classroom. It's not that. It's more that I think that every educator would benefit from having some of the special education training. And that's something that was not on my radar at all going into my credential program and then also into my current job, which is at a private school where all of the students have mild to moderate learning differences. So it's a lot of students who didn't get what they needed in public school because of ability and disability. I think people say this a lot, but don't walk the walk. So they'll say everyone learns in a different way, but don't actually walk the walk of letting students learn in different ways.
Absolutely. Providing the container, the environment that they can learn in different ways.
Yeah. And I do think that creating a really stable and calm environment is key to that. So I've become stricter for sure. Over the course of this year, I've become stricter.
In what way?
I'll be a lot more proactive if I feel that a student is distracting other students. Whereas before, I wanted to adapt. Now I'm like, you can't be doing that.
Right.
You can't be distracting others. But I think all in the service of helping students learn in the way that they learn best, while also, establishing communal standards.
It's life skills. Honestly, you're
Yeah.
doing amazing work because it's life skills to be able to coexist with people that don't navigate the world in the same way that you do. And I mean, I can say, even like working in corporate America for some time, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s don't have that skill.
It never ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Of like, how do you communicate in a way that's like, this is my opinion. What is your opinion? How do we
Right.
meet in the middle? How do we just disagree? These are the resources that are available. How are we going to divide and conquer? Like, just very simple things that can be applied in school too. So I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying like you are giving them life skills, which is so amazing.
I hope so. I hope so.
We're knocking on wood over here.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your credential program and your focus. Is it a focus or an emphasis? What's your emphasis called?
Yeah, originally I was doing single subject English, English for middle and high school, and I'm pivoting to education specialist. I think within that you can specialize more. But I'm just starting with the general education specialist
Nice.
credential.
Is that different if you were to teach in public school education versus private school education?
Yeah,
Oh,
because you
okay.
don't need a credential to teach in private schools,
Oh,
but you do need one to teach in any public setting.
interesting.
Yeah. Which is, I think a lot of
Wow.
people intuit that it's the other way around.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And this is such a generalization, but a lot of people who teach in private schools have advanced degrees,
Right.
but no
Teaching.
no teaching training, no teaching specific training. So they'll be really expert in their content area,
Right.
but might not have done any training or coursework related to education.
Right. How to break down those materials so people can retain it and learn from it. So interesting. Yeah, I thought it would be the exact opposite, especially because the amount of like money that you would have to pay for private school, that you would think you would need to have this other layer, gone further in academia, have masters, etc., and teaching degree. Fascinating to me.
And the other trade-off is that you can make more in the long term
right.
teaching public school, because private schools, at least in Los Angeles, pretty much across the board, pay less by a significant amount than any public school.
Wow.
But the trade-off is that your workload is just a lot more humane and manageable. So yeah, a lot of teachers burn out in public school and go to private school after, but you do get paid more. Yeah. Working
Interesting.
in the public system.
Is there I'm imagining a utopia, and let me just say what I'm about to say is about to sound quite Nirvana-esque, but is there some crossover in LA or any other city of public school educators and private school educators where they talk about resources, anything like that? I'm really curious.
Nothing that I've encountered, because this is something that I'm in the thick of right now, which is that it's quite challenging and complicated to get a credential. It's this 4 to 5 year process to do the entire thing. And yeah, there are a million steps. Each step costs money in different ways. And then even after you finish the program and get your preliminary credentials so you can apply to jobs and be a lead teacher, even after you get that, then you have to teach for, I think, 2 or 3 years and then reapply to get your credential cleared. And that part, I don't even know what that consists of because I'm not there yet. But it's this incredibly rigorous process for, I'm quoting a colleague, a famously thankless job. So as I've been navigating this, I've been looking for those types of resources of public school, private school teachers, but there aren't really any centralized resources to navigate the process.
A huge opportunity. Yeah, navigate the process. I would imagine there's some trends across like different age groups and what you're experiencing, regardless if you're going to public school, private school. Like kids are of a certain age, they're exposed to the same things, right? Like it just seems like that would make the education system just so much more powerful. Somebody do that.
Do it. Yeah.
It's not us, but someone do
Yeah,
that.
it won't be me.
But we support that if you're into it, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you have any other like educators as friends or anything like that in your community as you were exploring what you're going to do?
A little bit. Before starting March, April, I
Mhm.
was in an MFA for creative writing at UC Irvine.
Nice.
And as part of that, everyone teaches. So I don't know if this will continue for much longer given the higher education funding situation, but when we were in the program, it was fully funded, meaning that we were graduate students and to work on our creative writing projects. And the reason that that's possible is because we would also teach usually one class each semester or each quarter. So all of my friends in the program were also teaching.
Makes sense.
And so a lot of my friends now have some experience teaching either at the university level or in private high schools, because a lot of people graduate from the MFA and get jobs teaching English or history in private schools. So a lot of my close friends are in a similar boat, but I don't know if any of my close friends want to stay in education long term. Yeah, there are things that are really wonderful and rewarding about it. And it's also, it can become an unmanageable amount of work extremely quickly. Yes, it's the work-life boundaries can erode really fast. So
I mean, it's always nice to have people that are going through the same things, but sometimes you get better advice from people that are not in it because they don't have like the bias of the actual experience. But okay, so should we talk about your writing?
sure.
Just a little about your writing. As somebody who studied English and was thinking about teaching English, like what type of writing do you enjoy and do you partake in?
Yeah. For the past couple of years, I've been really, I don't know if obsessed is the right word, but I've been very invested in the essay form, the personal essay form. And that goes together with a lot of what I teach.
Nice.
I work with students primarily on essays. Like that's what happens in classroom. But I studied poetry in my MFA. Also, an undergraduate was doing a lot of poetry, and I still love reading and listening to poetry. But while I was in the program and I was turning in poems every week, the poems sort of gradually became essays. There's something about the way in which an essay is done when it's done that I think I gravitate toward, but also it's longer than a poem. And I think a lot of the times the goal of an essay is to be understood. And so I like that. I like that I'm working toward conveying often something that I haven't been able to put into words before into writing with the explicit goal of making it clear, which I don't think is necessarily the purpose of poetry or of fictional prose. And I think the precedent is that essays can be as short or as long as they need to be. And I like that as well. There isn't the burden of getting it done in half a page or having to write 200 pages for it to be
Right.
project. This is, I guess I'm speaking quite generally because there are exceptions to that in both poetry and fiction. Yeah, I've been quite invested in writing essays for the past couple of years.
I've never heard that kind of definition together. So I really like that. That makes it like very clear for me. An essay is about like conveying something and trying to make whatever it is that you're talking about understood. I can really appreciate that because yeah, poetry, people can read it. They can miss what is trying to be conveyed. They could apply whatever it is that they're personally going through to what's being written. A little bit like abstract art or something like that.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that definition.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I've ever understood a poem ever.
Oh.
That I read or written, I wouldn't say I've ever understood.
Oh.
And the appeal is something else, but I think
What's the appeal?
I think the mystery, the language. I think I really love language. I like thinking about it. I like working with it. And I think poetry is like it's for the real language lovers out there. It's for the real language heads out there. Where it's like, are you really just like language?
I'm from Virginia, and the slogan is Virginia is for lovers. I feel like it should be like poetry is for the real language lovers.
That is a bit how I feel.
Yeah,
it's not
so cool.
necessarily going to serve any other purpose.
Yeah. Are you working on anything new at the moment?
Yeah, I'm working on 2 projects. So I'm working on a book of essays. And
is this your first book of essays? Wow, this is big.
Thank you.
Yes, that's so great.
Yeah, I think I'm on the last 2 essays of the collection, and those essays have a lot to do with running March April Studio and what that experience has been like. And then I'm in the first maybe 30, 40 pages of a campus novel, which is very out of my wheelhouse, but it's been a good change of pace.
What made you decide to do the book of essays now?
Yeah, almost all of the essays in the book started as a poem that I wrote in my program. And when I was working on collecting the poems to turn in a manuscript, the manuscript ended up being a book of essays. And so in the past year, I've just committed. So this is a collection of essays. Yeah, and there's the unifying thread of utopian projects and what that can look like. And
it's big, utopian projects. I'm trying to imagine what that
could possibly look like.
Yeah, that's great. I look forward to reading it. Are you pushing yourself towards a deadline, or you're just working through and it will be done when it's done?
I think it'll be done when it's done.
That's great.
Because
too much deadlines, too much pressure.
The pressure. There's also the life developments keep happening. The March April studio essay I thought was done in November, but it's not because there's this huge new development. So I'm going back and rewriting it. So I think that's where I'm like, it's done when it's done. Life just keeps happening.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think I'm on the last 2 essays for the book to feel complete.
I know that you have a publishing company,
Corners Cut.
So do you think your work will be published by Corners Cut Off?
I don't think it'll be a Corners Cut Off project. It's Bhavani and I. So Bhavani also co-runs the studio with me. Bhavani is an artist and works with many materials, one of which is print and books. And so when we were roommates, we printed some projects together. So I would do the editing, Bhavani would do the design and printing. And it was mostly a way for us to take matters into our own hands during quarantine.
Oh, is that when it started? Okay.
Yeah, because we had friends who were writing great things that were unpublishable for different reasons. So we were taking into our own hands and printing those projects. But my hope is that these new projects are publishable in a more traditional way.
That's wonderful. Not to get down a rabbit hole, but Corners Cut Off, anything that was published by them, it is sold at a local bookstore. Is that right? Or it was sold at a local bookstore?
It was. So we used to sell at North Figueroa.
Oh, right, North Figueroa. Yeah,
because Bhavani worked there for a bit. It was great. It was great while we were doing it.
Yeah.
I do think it might happen again if Bhavani and I are in the same city.
Nice. So where's Bhavani?
They're currently in Berkeley doing their MFA in fine arts.
Wonderful that you're able to still co-run March April. Okay, we have to show some love to the folks that make this show possible. Today's episode is brought to you by Studio Bonded, the design studio that builds brands that bond with the senses. If you're into thoughtful design made by talented people who really care, then you're in good company. Check them out at studiobonded.com. We're back. Let's rejoin the conversation with our guests.
I do. And all of the news comes out in March and April. So we thought it would be a more subtle way of nodding to the college consulting aspect of the business. Yeah. And then it's just a very cute name.
It is. It is. It's a very cute name, and it signals something, and it rolls together because it is on the calendar together. It's like
Right.
quite nice. So, how did the studio come about? Like the intent of it, the idea, the back of the napkin,
It was very
ideas.
back of the napkin.
Really?
Yeah.
So great, though. Napkin idea into physical space. That's great.
It happened quite quickly. So Bhavani and I were making books out of our apartment, which was a bit unsustainable. And we were sort of excitedly sending each other Craigslist and Facebook marketplace listings for further equipment. And we just didn't have space for any of this equipment in our apartment. And then also we had a third roommate and we were
Who was not making books also?
no, not making the books.
Makes it hard. If you had all three of you making books, maybe it would have been a little easier. Yeah, exactly.
Over the space.
Permission to take over the space.
We were already kind of taking over the space. And so, yeah, we couldn't acquire further equipment for multiple reasons. And then we started talking very loosely about what if we got a shared studio space and we were able to transfer all of the bookmaking equipment and maybe some more equipment into this new space. And then it wouldn't be just us who could use it. It could be everyone in our community, not everyone in our community, but
Right.
our community at large could benefit if we had a semi-public space. I took to the idea very intensely. I loved the idea that it was something that we could just do and open it up to people and do it relatively cheaply. I really emphasize it was relatively. When we were thinking through ways to make it financially sustainable, I brought up the fact that, I do college consulting and a lot of my clients and students want to have a space to work on art and work on their art portfolios. And I was like, well, that could be a way to make it self-sustaining. If we have a physical space is so expensive,
Right.
but we could sort of justify it if we were holding these classes with these students I already have. And it came together quite quickly in that I think we had the idea maybe in late July or early September of 2024. And I found this particular unit and space in October. So like a month and a half later. So that's the part where I'm like, I am a Gemini.
Yes.
Where if I'm making any moves at all, it'll be fairly quickly.
Yes. Decisive action.
Decisive. Some might say rash. We signed the lease on this unit because it's a space we could have for multiple purposes. And it was actually one of the cheaper units on the market at the time, and centrally located. And before it was March, April, it was a retail store. Surprisingly, everything that the previous tenants did with the space made it extremely compatible with making artwork. The floors are this sort of indestructible, unstainable marble. The walls are just plain whitewash white. So we could, repaint it a bunch of times to do shows. And the lights are just ideal for showing artwork.
Yeah, just attract studio lights the can lights that you could point to spotlight. It's incredible.
And so it was just very
and a sink
aligned. The sink we had to install.
Oh, you did do,
which was a nightmare.
Oh, gosh.
But so it goes.
But lighting is a really expensive. Would have to be really expensive to install. So that's wonderful.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it served this very different purpose. But when we looked at it, I was like, I do think that this is the space for the project. And then, all of our friends came through and pitched in to help us clean up the space because it was pretty, it was pretty nasty.
Right.
And it was all DIY, I guess. I'm sometimes hesitant to use the phrase DIY because some of the people who were helping us were such true professionals and craftsmen. And
Sure.
so, but when I talk about my work, it's DIY. It was a DIY energy, I'll say. So a lot of people pitched in labor and time, and the this library wall behind us was done by a friend who didn't charge for labor or materials or anything. Yeah, the craftsmanship is unbelievable. And yeah, everything in the space has a similar story. So the fridge we got from another tenant in the plaza who was moving out. A lot of the camera equipment was donated by friends, family, community members. Yeah, just looking around, almost everything in here has that type of story.
As a space like this should, right? Like it's a communal space for artists. And so it only makes sense that the things that would be brought in would be kind of that same essence. And so, what did you offer here? What do you offer here at March, April in terms of classes and equipment? That is a really interesting model of what you provided to members or owners.
It took us a while to figure out exactly what our offerings were. What we landed on was fiber arts, darkroom photography, and writing, because those are the respective mediums of Bhavani, Maj, and myself. So Maj is a photographer and took point on doing our DIY darkroom, which was truly a DIY effort. And is very functional.
Right. Well, because
given
darkroom
everything.
spaces, I think, limits a lot of people to doing photography. It's expensive for all the materials
Expensive.
to have the space with the sink, with the light, like all of that. It just adds up. And so then people don't do it. But developing your own film is just such a skill. So the fact that you're able to offer that was incredible.
And on a shoestring budget.
Right. Yeah,
I won't
exactly.
go into the details, but I will say that I personally got extremely sweaty and learned how to use a staple gun, which
Yes.
I didn't think anyone would have wanted me to do previously.
But now, look at you now.
But now I know how to use a staple gun. And yeah, like it is a DIY setup. Like we don't pretend that it's, like I think some people who have used really fancy dark rooms come here and they're like, this isn't even a dark room. But then I'm like, okay, but then why are people making work here? Like, why are people producing amazing artwork back there using the materials we have?
It's kind of a lesson in where we're at. I think just in general is use what it is that you have. If you want to invest in something, sure. Like nobody's saying don't invest in the equipment that you want, but you might be surprised
Use what
if you use what you have.
Work with other people and you can produce really amazing work. So we've had multiple shows of photography and photographic processes all made in the darkroom.
Wow.
And it's like it works. It's a bit scrappy, but you can do it and it's shared as well. That's the other thing. It's such a small. Sorry, I'm getting a bit worked up.
No, it's fine. Don't apologize. I love it.
It's this tiny footprint that is serving like 4 or 5 different purposes for, dozens of people. Whereas I think like darkroom time is really expensive.
And probably few and far between to find a space that you could rent a darkroom by the hour unless you're enrolled in school, which is another cost. And people don't have it. So it's incredible. Get worked up about it. I love it. It's serving. It's working. It's cool.
And fiber arts. So Bhavani does weavings and work with fibers and textiles and has a floor loom that lives here.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That people took workshops on and rented. And then I've held a fair amount of writing classes in here as well.
Nice.
So essay writing, application writing, poetry. And we've done a bunch of workshops with guest instructors as well. So, members of our community largely queer and trans artists of color, not entirely,
Sure.
but
Supportive of that community or those communities.
and it's a lot of young people. It's hard to get, work I mean, I don't even wanna say work experience, but it is hard to get a foothold into different art opportunities if you haven't done anything beforehand, and so we did workshops with, people in our community who, are excellent at their respective crafts and also excellent at teaching. So we had a sewing workshop with a friend who does jewelry, chainmail.
Wow.
We had 2 DJ workshops. Um, we had a mask making workshop, figure drawing, um, darkroom photography, um, painting with Bafani. Um, yeah, so
Beautiful.
we've
You've
done a different
done
workshop
so
every month.
much. This space has done a lot. Are you able to reflect on the back of napkin idea, vision, and reflect on all it is that you've done? Because what I'm hearing is it's really kind of wide spanning who it's connecting with and who you're offering. Have you had any time to really celebrate that?
Not really. Not really. It's been hard to focus on that, I think, but I'm trying to.
Well, I'm celebrating it. I think even in the town that I live in, my mom's town is there's not a lot for young people to do and people that are early on in their career focused on the arts. I mean, museums, I said this a little bit with MiaBella, the term third spaces has been like co-opted by a lot of people, but like what are those spaces where people can come to connect with themselves, their work, and like other people in the community? And so it seems like this is really, serving that purpose. And also the fact that you were able to be aware enough to see that that was missing from your clients is something to be said, because most people, I'm just going to gas you up for a minute. Yeah, I just think that like most people, especially how fast paced we are right now, we're kind of just like looking at what's in front of us, and moving through. But to be able to see that there is a unifying theme or an opportunity that's kind of connected through some of your previous clients or students is it's a big deal. So, I mean, you created something that never existed before.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly did not exist. Whenever we tried to explain to people in the beginning what we were doing, every single time it was a different phrase or a different
Right.
pitch. So, yeah, it really was built as we were flying.
Right. And that's what you have to do. The more you say it out loud, the more it forms. And then you're kind of getting that feedback on like the words. That's when it clicked. Okay, I'm going to lock that in,
All
'Cause, like,
trial and error.
right? Like language does do that. I know that March, April is like going through a transition now. I would love to talk about that and like support you in any way. And if you could kind of share how it has arrived to the place where you are now. I'll
Things
preface
are
it with that.
still in flux.
Okay.
So things aren't there are certain arrangements that aren't finalized,
Okay.
but what is finalized is that we'll be moving out of this space at the end of June. I don't know that it'll be possible for us to recreate the space elsewhere. I'm not sure what will come next from me, Bhavani, and Maj. But the long story short is our rent effectively went up by a significant amount. And made it not possible for us to continue as we have been. Things were already, tight. Nobody ever said community art third spaces are are profitable.
Right. Just, working your way up the list of millionaires. Wow.
Yeah,
Can you
not a
imagine?
famously lucrative venture. So things were already tight, but we were making it work. But when the rent went up, it just we looked at the numbers and it just wasn't possible, especially because, none of us make money off the space. So we all have other jobs and it just wasn't financially sustainable or feasible for us to keep it going. We're still in the middle of figuring out exact arrangements for what's going to happen with all the stuff, and what will happen with our lease. But long story short is we can only really stay until the end of June. And a lot of the equipment we have gathered here is going with our cohort of really amazing studio residents, one of whom is MiaBella. And we're gonna party. I don't know. Like in this last month, we're gonna party and figure out what's next.
I'm sure not what you imagined for, this space too, but I think it is interesting to have to make a decision, especially when it's serving a purpose, right? And it's been working and people have been, finding it supportive to their art. And so it's really hard to like make that decision, but not at the like continuing it at the risk of like anyone, you three that have been owning it, like that's not the way, to continue forward.
Yeah, I think it was hard because it was so sudden and it was so external. We had been planning, literally the week before, the day before, what will things look like in a year or 2 years? And then, we get this news that the rent is going up by X amount. And suddenly all of the plans we had been making, we have to abandon and shift all of our energy toward dealing with this new crisis. Yes, I think there have been, I think that has been mentally quite challenging and emotionally quite
I can
hard.
imagine. I can imagine.
But I think it also wasn't the first time that sort of happened in the past year and a half because, yeah, there are moments of crisis of all shapes and sizes. This was the biggest and I think the last crisis of its kind. But I also think there was pre-existing burnout. So I think that it was financially unsustainable with that new element. And then energetically, like what we needed was a break. What we needed was like a moment to catch our breath and regroup. And then instead, it was this new crisis. So I think that was part of why we came to the decision we did as well. Yeah, so it's been bittersweet, but yeah, individual people have been really wonderful. The situation, it just sucks, I think.
Yes. I had a commercial lease when I had a small like clothing line accessory line, and I had a commercial lease. It was in a carriage house above my friend's retail store in Washington, D.C. And I was so excited. I was like, this space is gonna, catapult me. I'll be able to have like a place that I can actually work and then I can walk away from work. And it was one of the biggest lessons that I learned because this space really did serve a great purpose for me.
Yeah.
I was really close to my friend's store where I could, work down in the store it was just a really beautiful communal moment.
Yeah.
But financially, whoa.
Devastating.
So devastating.
Yeah.
And then the exiting, equally devastating because, I believe in my vision. And so I'm like, okay, we're doing this. We're doing this for X amount of years. And then when it becomes crippling, the exiting of like those commercial contracts can be really challenging too. So I feel
we're finding.
Yeah, I feel your pain is all that I'm saying. And if there's any, resources that I can help you with as you try to navigate that, I think, please obviously let me know. I ended up being able to negotiate something. And so I wish that for you too with ease.
Thank you. That means a
Yes.
lot.
Right. Just like with ease, let them just let us go. Okay. That's what I kept thinking all the time. I was like, oh, please just let me go. So I feel you, but hopefully you guys have gained some great wisdom from that too. It is a timeline marker in my mind for me too. So, because have you ever had a commercial space before?
And my refrain for the past 8 weeks has been never take a commercial lease, never sign a commercial lease. And that's, obviously coming from a bitter moment.
Right, sure. Maybe with some perspective, it might change, but also maybe not. Maybe not.
I think I didn't know how few rights commercial tenants have. And how little power commercial tenants have. So, yeah, you pour, a lot of energy and like goodwill into a project and then find that the world isn't designed to meet that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, world. Okay.
Yeah.
Change, please. Well, okay, we're gonna call in some ease on the
Thank
exit.
you.
I think your model is really beautiful, and
Thank you.
I would imagine a lot of people could learn from that model. And so, or do you have plans to revisit this model in some way?
Yeah, I think definitely because one of the original intentions was to create studio space for many different people to share since studio space is so expensive. And many more people were able to share the square footage than is typical. So,
Right.
friends who have their own artist studio spaces, it'll be maybe one or two people for, let's say, 800 square feet. And then in this space, which is, I think, just under 700 square feet, we have 10 to 12 people
Wow.
using it at a time as the space where they make artwork. And that was by design and also by trial and error. And so, yeah, as rents go up, cost of living goes up. It has been exciting and valuable to see that, yeah, with some design choices and also with strong community intentions, yeah, 700, 800 square feet can
That's amazing.
become shared between many more people. And then in the process, you also come away with artistic community, a space to gather, a creative space that's also communal. Um,
I hope people lean into what it is that you've offered here too. I know that you mentioned the party.
yes.
So let's talk about the party and talk about how people can support.
Yeah. I'm having my 28th birthday party here.
Oh, it's your birthday. I didn't realize it was on your birthday.
Yeah, and that'll also be our closing party. So everyone who's ever passed through the space, found it meaningful, engaged with it, we're inviting to come back and say goodbye. And then, yeah, also it happens to be the day before my birthday, so I'll bring a cake. Come have cake. Come check out and say goodbye to the space. There'll be things for sale, so come ready to shop.
Yes.
There'll be artwork by our amazing residents and art supplies that you can take home for
Nice.
an unbeatable price.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're finalizing details for our last show
Okay.
of artwork in the space. And tentatively, we have it planned for June 6th through 13th, but the
Okay.
show will still be up the day of the party so
Great.
that people can look at it and possibly buy work if anything speaks to you. And this will be work by our queer and trans artists of color residents who have been making work in the space for the past 6 to 8 months. So a lot of the work on show will be work that was made here or made during the time in which residents were using
We're
the
part of the
space.
space.
And it'll be a party.
What kind of cake? Do you have a favorite type of cake?
I'm probably going to go either with a Paris baguette strawberry cream cake or a cake from Proof Bakery, whichever they are offering at that time.
Yeah.
But we'll
I
see.
love strawberry cake.
Yeah.
Okay, so every episode I asked the final 3 questions. Are you ready to answer the final 3?
I hope so.
Yes, of course you are. Okay, so who are you and what do you do?
I'm Somi. I'm a writer and an educator, and I write and I teach, and I try to think of ways for people to share things.
Somi, what do you need?
I need a job following this gene.
Mhm.
If you know of anyone who needs college essay or graduate school essay support, hit me up. It's how I'm supporting myself through this last stretch of my credential. Thoughts and prayers
Yes.
are much appreciated. The good energy is felt. And yeah, I do really appreciate how much love and spirit people have been sending my way.
Yes.
But also, if you know anyone who needs support with essays, I'm very good. DM me.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And I hope that you're flooded.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and last question, what do you have to offer?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts about a shared studio space model. And I think a lot of stories and photos and memories from running the space that we'll hopefully be able to share with people quite soon. I have a lot of words and thoughts about what it means for young people to create artwork. I'm meant to take it seriously. I'm meant to be taken seriously. And I hope that the studio has done that for as many people as possible.
Thank you for doing this. It's
Thank you
so
so
nice
much
to meet
for making it
you.
happen.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of In Good Company, a podcast where we celebrate the beauty of connection and the magic of word of mouth. In Good Company is brought to life by my pod squad. That's Danielle Dweck, copy and creative consultant, Fukiko Machado, financial operations, Alex Perez, design lead from Studio Bonded, Kyle Murdoch, mix and sound design, and me, the creator and host, Davinia Roberts. The views shared by our guests are their own and are offered as inspiration and information only. To stay connected, follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share this episode with someone you love. It helps more good people find us. For full episodes and behind-the-scenes moments, find us on YouTube and Instagram at ingoodcompany.thepod or visit ingoodcompanythepod.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, if you're here, you're in good company.